Jatame. From the first. That's what Frenchie said with his last breath. 4 words. And if you heard them and just felt sad, you missed what the show was actually telling you. Because those aren't just goodbye words. They're the same words Frenchie says to Kimiko right before they both die in the comics. Garth Ennis wrote that scene years ago. The showrunners knew it, Tomer Capone knew it, and the reason they used those exact words in this moment, in this version of the story, is because Frenchie wasn't just saying goodbye to the woman he loved. He was passing her the weapon. Frenchie spent his last hours turning Kimiko into the only thing on Earth that can strip Homelander of his immortality. He died in that uranium chamber knowing exactly what he'd done, and everything that's about to happen in the series finale, every death, every confrontation, every last stand, traces directly back to that one sacrifice. This is the video where we break all of it down. Let's start with the science, because the show laid it out carefully, and it's easy to miss in the middle of grieving a character we've spent 5 seasons loving. Homelander is now immortal. That happened at the end of episode 6 when Soldier Boy, his own father, handed him the last vial of V1 and watched him inject it. V1 is the original Compound V formula, the one that doesn't just give you powers, it stops your aging entirely and makes you biologically unkillable. Stormfront had it. She was over 100 years old. Bombsight had it too, which is why he was walking around looking 30 when he'd been alive since World War II. So when Homelander injected V1, the boys' entire plan collapsed. Every strategy they had built around killing him was now obsolete. You can't shoot him, you can't gas him, you can't bomb him. He literally cannot die unless you take the V1 out of his body first. And that's the thing Butcher figured out, because he'd already seen it done. Soldier Boy can do it. That chest blast of his isn't just a weapon, it's a biological depowering mechanism. When the Russians experimented on Soldier Boy for decades, they turned him into a living nuclear reactor. The radiation he emits is so concentrated, so precise, that it burns Compound V directly out of a soup's bloodstream. We saw it happen to Kimiko in Season 3 when Soldier Boy accidentally hit her. She lost her powers completely. We saw it happen to Queen Maeve. We saw it happen to dozens of soups at Herogasm. That's the key. Soldier Boy's blast doesn't just hurt soups, it unmakes them, and it works on V1 too, because we saw him use it on Bombsight in episode 6. Soldier Boy looked his old colleague in the eye, fired that chest blast, and watched the V1 burn right out of Bombsight's body, made him mortal again in seconds. So if Kimiko could develop that same ability, she becomes the one weapon Homelander can't neutralize. She's not a regular soup he can just laser. She's a nuclear reactor with a healing factor, a walking Chernobyl who can take away everything he's built himself into. That's what Frenchie was building. That's what those radiation sessions were for. He was replicating the exact process the Russians used on Soldier Boy, compressing decades of exposure into days. And he needed Sister Sage's calculations to make it work without killing Kimiko in the process. And here's the part that matters. According to Frenchie, they succeeded. When Homelander showed up and cornered him in that uranium chamber, Frenchie looked him dead in the eye and said, "We already did, and they're coming for you as we speak." Homelander's face changed. That smug, godlike mask cracked for just a second because he believed it. He knows what Soldier Boy's power can do to him. He's been afraid of it the entire season, and now someone else might have it. He flew away. An immortal god ran. That tells you everything. Now let's talk about the death itself, because it wasn't random. It wasn't shock value. The show has been building to this exact moment since Season 1. And when you see the full arc, the weight of it becomes almost unbearable. Frenchie and Kimiko met when she was locked in a cage in a basement. She was feral, traumatized. She'd been a child soldier, weaponized by the Shining Light Liberation Army, injected with Compound V against her will, turned into something she never chose to be. She couldn't speak. She communicated through violence because violence was all she'd ever been taught. And Frenchie, this chaotic, drug-using, emotionally wrecked hitman who'd spent his whole career being a weapon for other people, looked at her, and didn't see a monster. He saw a person. That was the beginning. Through season 1 and 2, they developed this bond that defied easy categorization. It wasn't romantic yet. It wasn't exactly sibling either. Tomer Capone called them soulmates and said the word gets misused, that sometimes two people can be soulmates without it having to look like anything conventional. They were each other's mirrors, both of them killers, both of them carrying guilt they didn't know how to put down, both of them convinced at some level that they didn't deserve a quiet life. Season 3 gave us one of the most beautiful sequences in the show's entire run. Kimiko losing her powers to Soldier Boy's blast and experiencing pure joy about it. She could finally be normal. She danced through a hospital corridor with Frenchie, a full musical number, and kissed him for the first time. Then she told him it felt weird. Not bad, not wrong, but like kissing family. And Frenchie smiled to himself at the vending machine when she couldn't see him. He understood exactly what she meant. They were something larger than romance and smaller than nothing. Then season 4 complicated it. Frenchie started a relationship with Colin. Kimiko watched. They kept being each other's rocks while navigating that complexity. And in the season 4 finale, finally, they kissed for real, properly, no ambiguity. After 4 seasons of orbiting each other, they landed. Season 5 opened with them together. Talking about dogs, talking about kids, talking about what their life looks like when this is all over. And that's the writing on the wall, isn't it? You know this show. The moment two characters in a war story start talking about what comes after, that's when you start dreading the next scene. Showrunner Eric Kripke confirmed it. He said he always knew it was going to be Frenchie. That Frenchie and Kimiko are the heart of the show, and killing him would have maximum destruction, that heroes can't win without paying a steep price. He cited Lord of the Rings, that hard-won victories have to cost something real. Framing it wasn't about making the audience cry, it was about making the finale matter. Because if everyone survives, then nothing was ever really at stake. But here's what makes Frenchie's death different from a typical hero sacrifice. It's not just thematically resonant, it's mechanically necessary. Kimiko needed a reason to use the power. Think about it. She just survived days of excruciating radiation treatment. She's exhausted, physically destroyed, emotionally shattered. In the finale, she's going to have to walk toward the most powerful being on the planet and fire a weapon she's never used before at point-blank range against someone who could kill her before she gets the shot off. What gets a person to do that? Not duty, not strategy, not even saving the world. Grief, rage, love with nowhere left to go. Frenchie didn't just give Kimiko a weapon, he gave her a reason to use it. Here's the thing the show keeps telling us. Kimiko is the physical answer to Homelander, but what actually destroys him is the thing he can never fix. Kripke has said it outright. Homelander was psychologically engineered to be broken. Vought built a bottomless need for love into him on purpose. A soup who desperately needs to be loved is easier to control than one who doesn't. But that hunger can't be satisfied. Stillwell, Stormfront, the crowd, Ryan, Soldier Boy, every single source of love either rejects him, betrays him, or dies. Not because he's unlucky, because he consumes every relationship until it collapses. This episode crystallized it. He's declared himself God. He killed the president because the man's private thoughts weren't worshipful enough. The whole world is kneeling. And Soldier Boy said he was going to Colombia. That mask doesn't just slip, it shatters. Homelander built a theme park for his father, designed a Mount Rushmore with his face on it. He was finally going to be a son, and Soldier Boy looked at all of it and said, I only gave you V1 because Stormfront would have wanted it. I don't love you. So Homelander put him back in the cryo chamber and said, I love you to an unconscious man. That's not cruelty, that's desperation. He can't let Soldier Boy leave because if Soldier Boy leaves, the wound reopens. The child in the laboratory calling for a mother who was never coming. He's not a god. He's that kid. With the power to level cities, Ryan is still out there, beaten by his father, with no reason left to fight for anyone. That's the wild card walking into the finale. Blood and bone. 1 hour, May 20th. Here's how I think it plays out. Kimiko hits Homelander with the blast, strips the V1, makes him mortal again. But mortal doesn't mean dead. That's where the virus comes in. The boys have been sitting on a soup-killing virus all season that they can't deploy because it kills all soups, not just Homelander. Once Kimiko strips the V1, he's no longer untouchable, and the virus becomes viable. Two-step kill. Frenchie's work makes the second step possible. The complication is Butcher. He's been quietly becoming the second villain of this story, willing to burn everything and everyone to end Homelander, including his own allies. So you've got Kimiko pointed at Homelander, Butcher pointed at everything, and Ryan as the only person powerful enough to stop either one of them, with no reason left to save anyone. That's not one death in the finale, that's multiple. The leaks floating around right now, unverified, take them how you want. Describe Homelander not dying clean. Kimiko strips the V1, the virus enters, and he dissolves, hallucinating, begging, the god delusion cracking as the compound burns out of his body. Not a battle death, a dissolution. If that's true, it's exactly right, because Homelander's greatest fear was never death. It was being ordinary, being the scared kid in the lab, with no one coming. That's what Frenchie built. Not just the means to strip Homelander's power, the means to make him face himself. Frenchie spent 5 seasons being the heart of this show, the one who cooked for everyone, the one who bonded over Love Island with a genius who'd given up on caring, the one who showed Kimiko what it looked like to be seen. And in the end, he did what he always did. He took care of the people he loved. He hid Kimiko in the zinc chamber. He stepped into the radiation room. He looked the most powerful being alive in the eye and told him to gargle his hairy nutsacks, you Nazi putain. And he flipped the switch. Je t'aime from the first. Those words are from the comics. In the source material, Butcher is the one who kills both of them. Plants a bomb, ends them together. The show rewrote it into something different, something that gives one of them a purpose that reaches beyond the page. Frenchie died, so Kimiko could be the weapon, so she could have a reason to use it, so that when she stands in front of Homelander in the finale, broken, furious, radioactive, she isn't just fighting to save the world, she's finishing what he started. The series finale, Blood and Bone, drops May 20th on Prime Video, 1 week. We'll be breaking down every second of it the moment it drops. If this video hit, subscribe. You know the deal. Drop your finale predictions in the comments. I'll be reading every one.